Princess Anne heartbroken over King Charles fighting back tears during the Queen's funeral service. People from all over the world mourned the loss of Queen Elizabeth II during her funeral on Monday, September 19th, while watching both in person and on TV, but it was one of her children who was visibly emotional as they said their last goodbyes to Her Majesty. In deeply moving scenes, Charles led his children and grandchildren and other royals as the Queen's life and legacy was honored and remembered by millions of people. In a touching turn of events at the end of the service during God Save the King, Charles became visibly emotional as the whole of the church sang the Commonwealth's national anthem. While the church sang the song, the newly appointed king began to tear up during the final stretch of the service for his mother. Moreover, royal fans watching the Queen's televised state funeral have spotted the moment Princess Anne looked on in concern for her brother, and fans were soon commenting on the emotional moment Princess Anne looked at her brother as he welled up as they went on their final journey with their beloved mother. The king was teary-eyed as he mournfully watched his mother's coffin carried into the church for the poignant service. At times during the hour-long ceremony, he closed his eyes or appeared lost in thought, but it was the sound of the Queen's piper, Warrant Officer Paul Burns, who used to play for her at Balmoral, that seemed to finally come close to overwhelming him. As the bagpipes played, his mother's casket rested before him, adorned with the imperial state crown and a wreath of flowers, leaves, and herbs, some from his own gardens at Highgrove and Clarence House. It featured his handwritten message, "With loving and devoted memory, Charles R." The R standing for Rex now that Charles is king. The king seemed heartbroken. We can tell deep inside he's been grieving. Over the past week, he's been determined to describe the Queen as a model of public service. She was a pattern to all princes living, he said, quoting Shakespeare, and he told Parliament he was resolved faithfully to follow her example of selfless duty. But he has also described his great personal sorrow, a profound sense of grief, and irreparable loss. Finally, on Monday, he was able to lay his darling mama to rest. Frequently, his features looked close to liquefying into grief, eyes reddening and watery. Princess Royal glanced at her brother with a worried expression as he stared towards the floor, visibly taking in the emotion of the occasion before making his way inside. Inside the abbey, the king sat at the head of the family alongside the Queen Consort Camilla, Princess Anne, and her husband. He gripped his ceremonial sword and looked downcast as the sound of hymns and prayers filled the historic abbey. Princess Anne's body language has been analyzed by viewers of Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral, with many expressing sympathy for her as she was seen looking somber yet dignified. The Princess Royal walked behind the late monarch's coffin alongside her brothers, King Charles III, the Duke of York, and the Earl of Wessex. Many others took to social media to praise how the Princess Royal handled the funeral, as well as just the past few days. A word for Princess Anne, one of the hardest few weeks of her life, and hasn't put a foot wrong. Takes after her mother. Another one commented, "I feel for Princess Anne. She has always managed to conduct herself with grace, and you can tell how affected she is by the loss of her mother." Princess Anne, staring at the coffin looking crestfallen, that's someone looking at their mom, not the Queen.